one of the big topics this week is the Ellie Turner's issue. So,
all right, I'm looking. I have the rule book pulled up and I read it ahead of time.
So I have it up too. So, and I know I was listening to the Savon podcast when it came up, when they were in like the barbell spin was talking about it, and he actually went in detail for it. So supposedly, she tried to get an appeal to come here and do the semifinals over here, and they denied her.
Okay.
So my thing is if she goes to Australia, I know it's going to cost a lot of money and stuff like that. Yep. So, but
because there's two sides to this, and I'm trying to argue both sides, like just discuss from both sides. For anyone listening at home, if you go to the rule book, it's 1.09 is what like the part of the rule book for if anyone wants to go read this.
Yep. And so like if she goes back to Australia, she's gonna like. I mean, if bear in mind if her back's healthy, so she'd win the whole thing.
So like
no problem.
Yeah, like and so like her going like so I'm assuming she hasn't lived here for 3 straight years since February 1st of 2021.
No, so like, she I think she moved here in June. So
yeah,
that's
like,
the reason why.
So like that's the thing. It's like there's so many there's a lot of exemptions, and people are trying to be like, well, Roman gets an exemption. I'm like, from my understanding, if Roman goes home, he's never coming back to the US. The guy couldn't come to the games for like 5 years or something.
Yeah.
But Ellie being denied appeal, I can understand it. Like they're just like, okay, cool, you haven't lived here, you don't really have a reason, like qualifying reason according to the rule book. Like, does it really matter? No. Like, should she be able to compete in the US? More than likely, if we're just looking at it on face value. Like, I think that would be a more fair rule, because it's like, okay, like Katrin competed in the West last year, I believe, but I don't know if she's a US dual citizen, or she's also lived here a long, long time.
Yeah, she's been, I think, was it like
since like 17? Like,
yeah,
like she's been on the US side, like from Boston for a long time. So like we can't like use those as examples for the most part. And really, I don't think she's not a dual citizen. And like she just tried. Like, you have to apply, and they denied it. Again, we don't have the reasoning, or she hasn't shared it. She posted on Instagram that more or less will come. So we'll see where that goes. But Hannah, how do you feel about her appeal being denied?
I mean, I understand like where she's coming from. It's just very frustrating. Like, I think in the end, she's been here long enough, and I'm always to the promoting. I'm like, okay, I'm looking at the team side. Teams can just go like to a gym in Texas. I live in Virginia, and I could be considered a West athlete, Yeah. So there's me being like, I'm kind of fine with people moving. It's happened in the past, but the rules are the rules. And the thing with I think the one thing when they're like, I think for at least like Roman and Katrin, is like, okay, they got the exemption last year, and they pretty much said, hey, you'll just get it again if you apply for it, because you have already qualified. And then Roman can at least make it to South Korea. So there was those hints of, okay, he can go there. He can't just go back to Russia. He'd just be like, he'd never come back.
Yeah. He'd be in a military uniform right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
there's me like saying that, okay, I get that he's been to South Korea. Does he like, but is like, was that a fluke? Could, like, if he went back, like, what could have happened? Like, what could happen? And then, yeah, Katrin's been here since, like, for the, like, 2015 season. So, of course, going back and forth. So, in the end, I think on the Barbell Spin podcast, they're saying that if you put Ellie's scores up against the West scores, she wouldn't even made the CrossFit Games. So it's kind of like, it's very hard to get to Australia. Don't get me wrong, but you're in a much better scenario that way. And they're even bringing up that if everyone in Australia bands together, they can actually earn more spots for the region. which would be very cool because they do deserve those.
They
spots.
deserve more spots.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Instead of the 3 and 3.
Yeah.
Right.
So
now
and
to
3.
what Ellie Turner posted on Instagram today. Now that's where the tea gets spilled.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Oh, it's awesome. So like her gripe is like, the way you can, if you bring it up on your phone and just look at Ellie, she's doing a workout, but her caption says it pretty clearly.
Yeah.
And I'm just bubbling it up to, I'm exhausted by how much HQ doesn't give any transparency to the athletes, and they will just determine like the way she writes it, understandable, because HQ does what HQ wants to do without really any kind of transparency.
Yeah.
For the most part. And in the past, like Sarah Sigmund's daughter was competing in like top central when we got super regionals back in the day, right? Like it's understandable. Like, does it really make a difference? No. Like she should be able to compete in the West. Like if you're living in the US, like depending on where you are, if you're on a team, it doesn't even like Hannah, you could literally go to Europe right now and join a team there and live there for the next 4 months.
Yeah, I know. That's what. Like,
that's
so
why, like, it's
done.
like, yeah, and it's what's going on. I think Lena Richter's on Noah's team this year, so she's into it. Like, that's the thing. It's like there's no true. Everyone's being treated the same, and that's really where I think her gripe's coming from what I saw on Instagram. Which she's also like correct in having that feeling. The problem is the rule book says, guess what? We can listen to your appeal. Fill out this form, which I couldn't even download because my computer wouldn't open it earlier. And so guess what, Ellie, I'm sorry. You should be able to compete in the West. Not possible. Have fun going down onto shrimps on the bobby and collecting your next ticket to the CrossFit Games because I think you're going.
Yeah, I mean, it's an easy option for me if I had that situation. But plus, like, it like 1.09, it specifically says like February 1st, and so and by her Instagram posts, it looks like June of 2021 or something like that. But there's also, I heard on the Savon podcast that supposedly someone from HQ said that she would be all set for this year, but I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah,
I can't.
It's like I'm not even gonna even try to like make it.
Yeah.
You can't entertain that, right? Like, it's like, oh, I heard this. It's like that's like, and I'm gonna take like we got to use facts as facts. So if our sources are the rule book and Ellie Turner's Instagram, which are probably the most direct sources anyone of the three of us can use, we're gonna use those. Yeah. Savon wants to say he heard something. That's fine. I just won't like entertain it as like she had heard this.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if she didn't post anything from February to June, which I fairly doubt it, from her being in the West Coast.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all well. I mean, rules are rules, unfortunately. Yep. I mean, the one thing is if they let her slide, all right, like who else is going to slide through and try to like not weasel their way in, but
No, it's like the only like Ellie hints that she's going to drop more stuff. Like she's probably going to just put all the information out there, which she should. Again, it's going to create more turmoil and like just random news articles, but it's not going to change anything. Like, again, this is why I'm forgetting the name. What's the Chandler and Fikowski's pro fitness, the athletes?
Oh, PFAA?
Yeah, the PFAA. This is clearly a PFAA and HQ thing that they need to address because it doesn't make sense.